Hey, I'm Dr. Melissa, soul strategist, master healer, and I solve unsolvable problems. Hey, it's Dr. Melissa. Today on Solving Unsolvable Problems, I want to take you sort of backstage. I want to show you behind the curtain and show you exactly how it is that I am solving unsolvable problems for myself, for my clients, for the world. And most importantly, I want to show you how you can do this, or the steps that you can take to do this for yourself. So let's back up for a minute and let's talk about the meaning of symptoms. Symptoms typically are something anyone uses to describe something that is negative in their life, right? Like no one ever refers to having joyful symptoms. They might, you know, refer to having abdominal symptoms or abdominal pain as a symptom. So symptoms can be physical, they can be mental, they can be emotional, they can be spiritual. Physical symptoms we think of most commonly, right? They might be migraines or abdominal pain or hip pain or asthma. Mental symptoms might be things like mental chatter that just doesn't let you get clear about next steps. It might be insomnia, being unable to shut your mind off at night and be able to get a good night's sleep. Emotional symptoms might be things like anxiety or worry. It might be sadness or grief. Um, there are really so many emotional symptoms. It could be frustration or anger. And spiritual symptoms tend to be the ones that are most pronounced and yet a little more vague as to cause. They're things like feeling overwhelmed, feeling really frustrated with the way that your life has gone, feeling like you're fragmented or that only pieces of yourself are being expressed with this desire to be whole. It's this feeling of being out of alignment. And when our bodies are showing us these symptoms, it's really a beautiful and powerful thing. These symptoms are messages. And not only are they messages from the past about where this came from, but they're messages about how to do things differently in the future. And if you've followed my work, read my books, or watched my videos, you know I like to talk about trauma. And trauma is not only horrible, super big T trauma kind of things like seeing people be murdered or massive car accidents. Trauma can be really anything that your body, your being, your psyche is not able to process in the moment. So it could be something like you were 2 years old and your mom went into the hospital to have her gallbladder out and she was totally fine. It was like no big deal. But at 2, you didn't know if your mom was ever coming home again. That would be trauma. Your 2-year-old self didn't know how to handle it. That's just one example. And each and every one of us can think of many, many examples of trauma in our life, from being shamed at school for having a paper that, a homework assignment that wasn't quite up to par, or having someone tease you about your hair or your clothes, or someone telling you that you should really be quiet. The whole concept of being seen and not heard, that you didn't have a voice. Those are traumatic insults to the truth of who we are, and those will show up as symptoms later in life to give us the opportunity to heal them when we weren't able to heal them as children or when we were younger. So it's really a beautiful gift that the body is representing this information to us so that we can really address um, and release the belief, the pattern, the trauma from our bodies. And we can move forward in alignment with the truth of who we are. And the beautiful thing is that when we do that, when we release that pattern, that belief system, and we move forward aligned with the truth of who we are, those symptoms, whether they are physical, mental, emotional, or spiritual, resolve. They go away. So often we spend time trying to manage symptoms, right? If you have asthma, you manage it with inhalers. If you have insomnia, you might manage it by using a particular app at night or drinking a particular tea before you go to bed. If you have worry, you may manage that by distracting yourself, doing something fun, getting a new hobby. If you feel overwhelmed, you may also try to manage that with self-care or any other myriad of things. And that's not to say that any of those things are bad, especially self-care, right? Self-care is awesome. But it's the concept of accepting it as what is and managing it that I'd like to challenge in your thinking. Because it really is oftentimes as simple as going back and just pulling the root of the previous trauma, the belief, the pattern that's been instilled and imprinted in your being, and then moving forward aligned with the truth of who you are. When we do that, we're actually resolving the problem. We're not managing it. We are solving these previously thought of as unsolvable problems. And the result is extraordinary. In thinking about it in yourself and feeling into it, I encourage you to really think about what message your physical symptoms are giving you and to take them as a gift. I see them completely as a gift because here's the thing, and I've seen this happen again and again and again and again. The body is part of your whole being, right? You've got a mind, body, spirit, and it's got this information that this imprint was stored in your body and it's making you believe something about yourself that's not true, that you are invisible, that you don't have a right to be seen and heard, that you're not worthy, that you're not good enough, that it's not safe to make a lot of money, or it's not safe to lose weight, or that it is just the way it is, that life is hard and is full of struggle, or that there aren't enough hours in the day, or any of the number of things that we tell ourselves that create a lot of stress and conflict because they're out of alignment with the truth of who we are. And as your body starts to give you these messages, you have two options, right? You can either dive in, thank the body for the message, get to the root of what the actual message is, resolve it, and move forward without that symptom. Or you can ignore it. You can distract yourself. You can find some means of distracting yourself from what's going on, or you could find some way to try to manage it. And what will happen is the body will scream louder. So I see this all the time. You know, someone will get one symptom that's speaking to them, and they will ignore it, they will dismiss it, they will manage it in some way. And then they get the next one, and it's louder. It's something that's more obnoxious, more in their face, more designed to get their attention. And they may choose to ignore and distract from that one, or just not really choose to dive in. They're kind of resistant to the idea that there's anything going on there. And the body will scream louder. Something bigger will happen in terms of an accident or an injury or an illness. And it gets to the point where it gets your attention. I'll give you one example. If you've seen other videos, you know I give a lot of examples of where this has happened in my own life. But one example was I had a pattern of saying, you know, as a single mom raising 5 kids, working as a doctor back many years ago, I had this pattern of saying like, well, I need to get, this number of things done on my to-do list and then I can relax. Like that I had too many tabs open in my mind. I couldn't really relax until I had gotten some of these things off my plate. And so I had, even though I had at that time, this was probably 8 years ago, at that time really started doing some self-care and taking time to meditate, take hot baths, go for walks, do things that actually took care of myself, which was a far improvement from the previous. I still had this pattern of, when things got kind of overwhelming and there was too much going on, that I just wanted to get the stuff done and then I could relax. And so in January one year, I had this pattern going on. It was very busy. It was right after Christmas, right around New Year's. And I got influenza. And it's really odd, right? As a doctor, I had been immunized, got influenza, and I didn't just get it a little. I got it so bad. I was in bed with a fever for a week. Doctors can't return to work with influenza if they have a fever. So it kept me out for more than a week. And it knocked me out, and it made me realize what I was doing. It made me see that pattern clearly. And that was a huge gift, because what I learned from that experience of being wiped out, and mind you, I was so sick and so miserable. My eyes were tearing so badly. My nose was running so badly. I couldn't even watch TV because I couldn't see. There were like too many tears. I couldn't read. I couldn't do anything, but essentially lay there with this fever for a week. And what it made me realize, by becoming really present with this pattern of mine, it allowed me to see it. It allowed me to shift or transform it. And it allowed me to move forward in a way where now I can say, if life is stressful, I actually double my self-care. I will double my meditation time. I will double my time outdoors in nature or grounding, or my physical activity, exercise, all of those kind of things that I need. Those are my base. I will actually double that. And it's amazing how many things just kind of fall off the to-do list. Either someone else takes care of them for me, or something happens and I no longer have to do them, or I get them done 10 times faster than I was expecting, or whatever, and everything gets done fine. So that's one example of diving in and listening to the message. And my hope for you is that in watching this series, and watch as I work one-on-one with clients to solve their unsolvable problems, that you see patterns or ways to do this in yourself, that you don't get to the point of your body screaming so loud that it takes a massive illness or a massive injury to get your attention, that you start to listen to the subtle, and you start to shift without your body having to go to the extreme. Because it loves you so much, it's going to be sure that you learn the lesson either way. It's up to you how hard you choose to make that journey.